So this is the timeline for the webinar today, and also we'll try to leave some time for the questions from the audience in the end. Okay, so first of all, the icebreaker activity. So participants, we want to know more about you. Where do you come from? Why are you joining us today? So feel free to scan this QR code or to go on slido.com and type in the code. So type in the code 1632741. And then, so once you're there, you can go on the polls section and yeah, and so you can start answering the different questions. Okay, thank you so much for answering that question. And now I'm going to go to the last question that we have for you. That's a bit, might be a bit tricky, but you know, also it's really related to our general theme for the hackathon. So it's, what are some of the main gender inequality issues we are currently facing according to you? And those issues that, you know, will be tackled also during the hackathon. So yes, there is no right or wrong answer, just according to you, what are some of the main issues we're facing related to gender inequalities on Earth? Pay inequality, women's safety. Gender representation, good one. Unfair professional treatment. Confidence in work. Women's rights in the workplace, yes. Exploitation and violence, yes, big one, unfortunately. Unfair professional treatment, representation bias, bridging, crystal ceiling, yes. So yeah, really, really good answers and really, indeed, really important issues related to gender inequality that we are unfortunately facing today. And it's really nice to see that you all have a different, different ideas coming up, and that, yeah, maybe might be solved during the hackathon as well. So this is the, this is the main point of the event that we will be developing further on, but we really hope that it can help develop some ideas for tackling those issues. So I'll wait a bit more, but then I think we have everything we need. Yeah, so thank you all so much. Indeed, like really main issues we're facing today, and really important safety. Yeah, safety is the main one. Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. So now I'm going to switch back to the main presentation. Okay, so just going back here. So yes, thank you all so much for sharing your answers. So you come from a large variety of countries, and that's amazing to see. And you also already have big ideas on, well, first of all, the current issues that we're facing regarding gender inequalities on Earth. So thank you all so much for sharing those, and we'll be developing some of those later on. And also Leandro will be showing some resources that we already have to try and start tackling those issues. That you will be able to develop furthermore during the hackathon. So first of all, we invite to the floor our great speaker that's here today with us. So Miss Neevy van Laningham. So she's a space diplomat and a space policy expert working for the U.S. State Department Office. She's joining us from the US today, and she will actually be present at the Our Giant Leap Hackathon as an in-person mentor. So she will be there to help and guide all hackers team, specifically for space policy and space diplomacy matters. So feel free to get her help during the hackathon, of course, while you're there. And we'll be asking 5 questions to her today related to her expertise and also our events. So Ms. Neevy van Laningham, thank you so much for joining us today. Maybe you can do a short introduction, first of all, before starting with the questions.
Okay, well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon for all of those who joined. I'm honored to join, and thank you so much for the kind introduction. This is one of the most favorite group that I love to talk to, SGAC group. I was introduced to the group about 15 years ago, and I knew many of you in the Asia Pacific region, and probably came across in other region in one of our meetings or during the Space Symposium. So I'm just here. Beside being a US diplomat working on space, I'm also a mother. And most of you are about the same age as my children. So I'm happy to talk to you and learn about your view and what do you think about diversity, equality that we are facing. And we'll go from there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your introduction, and thank you for being here with us. So our first question to you would be, what is, according to you, the role of SGAC and other NGOs in the international space policy arena?
And this is a really, really good question. I think you as the new generation coming up, you have a lot of advantage to change the world. And I hope that I can see that in my lifetime. You have the power to move the agenda forward. When I think about diversity and inequality across the globe, and I think regionally you tackle at a different angle. And since I concentrate mostly in Asia Pacific and a little bit in Africa, so I think for the SGAC generation, I think you have to really look at not only gender inequality, and that has to come with culture, religions, and how you treat one another just in a general everyday life, you know. For example, majority of people are married, right? Either you are married to another woman, to another man, you are married, so therefore you learn how to cope with each other, depending on the gender of your partner. So why can't you do that in the workplace? In the same workplace, the respect that you give to one another. And I wanted to keep that in the mind of all the SGAC group. It's a non-political, it's basically cultural of respect, you know, whether it's men to men, men to woman, woman to woman. It's all about respect and care for one another. And I think your generation are the most liberal, open-minded, and more understanding of the differences. And I don't know, I just have a lot of hope that you as young professional, as you coming in the world, yes, there's a lot of responsibility on your shoulder, but I think you as a group can do it. And I'm looking forward in my lifetime to see that changes. So I'll stop there. If you have any question, I cannot see the chat. So Antonio, please let me know what are some of the questions and whatever point that I missed. So I want to let you know that Antonio and we met in, I can't remember when I met Antonio. It seems so long ago, when he first graduated out of high school, basically. And so I'll stop right there.
Okay,
thank you so much for great words. I'll let Melis take care of all the questions from the text, from the chat.
Yes, for sure. So I think we can leave the questions for the end, but if you do have any question for Ms. Neevy van Laningham while she's answering our questions, feel free to drop them on the chat, and I can also ask them to her directly. So thank you so much for the answer to this first question, Ms. Neevy van Laningham. So yes, it's putting a lot of pressure on us, you know, to say that we have the power to change things, and you know, as the next generation, you count a lot on us. But yes, thank you so much for yeah, for putting forward the power also of the SGAC to make some big changes in the space sector. Then our second question. So this one is more related to, yes, I would say your expertise in the Asia Pacific region. So it is for you specifically, what role do these organizations, so like organizations like SGAC, play in the Asia Pacific region for space policy matters?
Yes. So this is a very important to me. You as a group, SGAC, it's a one part of the movement, right? You see yourself, and I hope you see yourself as a cultural ambassador to your country, to your region, and to the whole world. For the emerging country, one of the most complex problems that I learned, oh, first of all, let me back up, and I wanted to make it clear to everyone that today I am speaking personally of my own opinion and my own knowledge, and they do not represent the US government or the US State Department, and I just want to make that clear, okay? So for the emerging country, what I learned from my experience, you not only have the gender biases or the inequality, you also have to tackle with your own government. Most of these governments are not exactly the model government in the world. You have it a double, I would say a double-edged sword compared to Melia from France or from Italy or from Germany. So for those who are emerging nation coming up from Asia and Africa, you have to also learn how to talk to your own government. You cannot be isolated as a group. You also part of your technology, your knowledge and technology for that matter. It's your advantage, you know, to be the computers, the IT generation, is learning how to cooperate and talk to your government. Because to be honest, just as an SGAC in Asia Pacific or in Africa or in Latin America, you're not gonna make waves or waves if you do not know how to communicate with your government. Whether this government is a model government, whether this government is a corrupt government, whether this government is a democratic government elected or a dictators, it does not matter. You have to learn how to live and maneuver and work with them to get your words across. And that is a challenge. And I know it's gonna sound like by the end, I hope by the end of the hackathon, oh my God, how can I do it? Yes, you can. You know why? Because you're not just Asia Pacific. You can grab the SGAC Europe. You can grab SGAC Africa. So you don't work alone. You as a group, you can do it. But if you decided to work alone, it's not going to work, because at the end of the day, I can support you. You know, lots of people come to the US government sharing their concern and stuff, and we can make a voice here and there. But at the end of the day, it's you living in that country, in that region, and you need to learn how to work with your government in order to get your voice across. I'll stop.
Okay, thank you so much again. Very interesting answer indeed. So we as SGAC, we needed all of us to learn to work better with our individual governments, and also maybe all together we can start some big changes within our nations. So thank you so much for your answer. Really inspiring and interesting. So then we can move on to the next question. So this one is closely getting to the theme of our hackathon, so but it's still more general. So according to you, like, do you think activities of the space sector, like space technology, space policies, law, and other like everything that can go into the space technologies and know-how domain. Do you think that those can be used to enhance lives on Earth? And if they can be used for that, how can they be used for such such methods?
Absolutely. And I think that's a very easy question. And I'm not, I don't think I really have to answer that. I think you as a group already know. I mean, look at the just for an example, in GPS, you can go around the world right now with your little phones, and you don't even have to speak the language of that country, and you can maneuver around the country. And all this is because of the advance of the space technology, right? And that's an easy example. The unrecognized example that I also want to raise, and I want you, SGAC, to introduce it to your country and do small project, is agriculture. You can use satellite data to interpret the deforestation, the drought, the use of chemical fertilizer. How is all these affected? These are all space technology that you could apply to. And that is the less known technology that for most people do not realize that you can apply that and make such a big difference in life on Earth, right? Everything we learned so far on space technology is to improve the life on Earth. And that's what it should be, right? It's not about war. It's not about testing your weapon. At the end of the day, it's about life and sustainable life on Earth. Of course, I think that it's a common sense, but a large group of SGAC anyway in Asia Pacific, you're more toward engineering, and I applaud you for that. But you need to make yourself a little bit well-rounded, not just about technology, not just about building big toys for the space technology, building big toys to improve the life on Earth. At the end, you have to remember that statement. Everything you do, everything you build is not because you're going to prove to the next neighbor, the next country, the next nation, saying, oh, I can send a rocket up to space. What is it for? At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? Because of what? Is it showing off that you can do it? Or is it to actually improve your country, your nation, your global citizen? And if you keep that in mind, then I think you conduct yourself in a way that at the end of the day, you have to answer, how can I apply all these things to improve life on Earth? And I give you an example of the agriculture that is really underused in terms of space technology that most countries really need. And I'll stop right there. So I'll answer the question later.
Thank you so much. Definitely really important to keep in mind that also what is our purpose when we are working in space or in aeronautics. Yeah, always an important question that we sometimes tend to forget. Yes, so it's interesting that you brought up the example of agriculture, because that is part of our resources for the hackers as well, to try and work with space technologies to enhance work on agriculture, especially for women working in those fields that might have a different approach to the work, and also like different difficulties in comparison to men. So really interesting that you brought up these resources, and Leandro will define them more later on.
You raised a very good point, and I wanted to touch base on that in terms of the difference between men and women. So in space technology, right, or for SGAC, it does not require for the woman to have the same equal string as men, let's say, work in the field, right? We're all staring at our computer with our technology. So it is not an excuse to have women also involved in advancing the life on Earth by using space technology, right? And even for disability, you know, whether you can walk or you cannot walk, you can still contribute to the technology. So that's a very good point, Mel. Thank you.
Yes, no, thanks to you, and really an important point that space is for everyone, and everyone should be welcome to participate in it in the way that they want. And so this leaves us with the fourth question. So really now more on the theme of the hackathon. So as a reminder, the hackathon where we are going to be asking teams of up to 5 hackers to answer the following problematic: how can space technology and know-how help make a leap forward towards gender equality on Earth? So today we would like to ask you, Ms. Neevy van Laningham, what is your personal take on our general theme for the hackathon?
I think let's go back to the question number 1 again. It relates to, you know, for the hackathon, it's let's concentrate. You cannot just say concentrate on one point, whether it's gender inequality, and that's happened. Unfortunately, here at my age, you know, I'm staring at retirement, and I'm still facing that, right? It's gender inequality, it's cultural inequality, it's age inequality, it's ethnicity inequality. All these has combined together, and if you are to tackle diversity and how you can promote equality, you really have to combine the whole package. You cannot just concentrate on one point, because that you know, why is men versus women inequality, you know, it has to do with the way men think, the way men act, the way men solve problem, versus the woman, you know, think, act, and solve problems. And then on top of that, then you have the culture, right? White versus color, Asia versus European, Africa versus Asia. This whole culture and ethnicity come into play in one you know, point, just different. And we tend to, and I wanted to give an example. We tend to congregate in what we call like-minded people, or ethnicity, or culture, or religion, right? And I see that, and forgive me if I pinpoint into one area, because I'm concentrating on Asia Pacific. And the Asian are really, really, you are guilty for this. You tend to be, you tend to form groupies when you get into a large group, you know. You'll see the Chinese congregated with the Chinese, right, or other. And I understand it's because the language barriers, because of like-minded friends that you think of, and you know, you eat the same food, you like the same type of snacks, and all these things. But if you keep all that in mind, because you are no longer, compared to my generation, we have to actually hang out together physically, right? You actually physically hanging out mostly on computer and across the globe. So there is no frontier for you to make friends. There is no frontier for you to learn about each other's cultures and ethnicity and religion and age and thing. So there is a limitless to you guys, and you keep that in mind. So why do we still have these biases? And again, these are the things that you need to keep in mind. And it's not just men, you know, yes, of course. And like I give an example, at some point you're going to have relationship, whether you're going to be married or having a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. You have to adjust to another person. And that same trait apply to workplace, to social, to everything else around the world, you know. So if you keep that awareness, and these are all practical things that you all can change and be aware. I think that one step to change, the very first step is the awareness of your environment. When you train your mind to be aware of your surrounding, that is already the first step for you to change. So
Yes, definitely very interesting what you're saying, so that we have to be aware of one another, and also interesting the paradox that still today, you know, the limitless communications that we have, there is discrimination still exists, racism still exists, we also still have biases in many the diversity aspects. So yes, it's still something we need to tackle, unfortunately. And as you say, first of all, it starts with all of us being aware of our environment and, you know, the other people surrounding us. But yes, the second thing is starting to think, what can we do more? How can we help it? So this hackathon, at least, yes, we're trying to tackle one of these issues, which is gender inequalities, and finding the best ways to help using space technology and know-how. So yes, but it starts, of course, with all of us, and with being more aware of the people surrounding us. So thank you so much for pointing this out. Then I think we have one last question for you, Ms. Neevy. It's a special focus on the space know-how section of our problematic. So we would like for hackers to think about projects to use space technology, but also know-how, so all that is non-technical, so policy, law, you know, the project management in space, for example. For you, as a space policy expert, do you think space policies can be used to tackle gender inequalities on Earth, and how?
yes, of course. I mean, that is what I do 24/7 is space policy, right? So I'm happy to say, yes, space policy can address inequality because it's rules. It use a lot of, it's a concept that not just one person has to develop, right? Space policy is a development of what I always go around the world saying, whole of government. You have to really get the government together in order to be sustained in terms of policy. It is not one particular agency who wants to be recognized to be a space agency. That is not sustainable. You have to buy in the whole government. Same thing as I raised the SGAC. It's not just the fight of a SGAC Asia Pacific, is not just the fight of SGAC Africa or Europe. You together, all the whole globe can do something. You can help each other. You can, each of you can raise it regionally and nation wide to get every voices across. So it's the same thing in policy. Of course, policy, you know, I believe strongly. There's two ways that I learned so far in the world of space. There is country like mine in the US. We are obsessed, literally over obsessed with rules and regulation, right? So, for example, if we are to do something, theoretically, we come together and we have to address, you know, I'll give you a small example. Let's say the US national space policy. We have to talk to about over 50 different agencies to come together and address this, you know. If we put a law, say, well, if we put a stop sign on such point, how does that affect the White House? Does that affect the State Department? How does that affect NASA? How does that affect NOAA? You know, we have to hear, because metaphorically, we all live in different neighborhood, right? So if you want to, you put one stop sign, what it affects NASA, that's not the same thing as it affects State Department, nor is it the same thing as affecting the White House. So we have to come together and figure out, if we do A, what's going to happen? If we do B, what's going to happen? But it's not for one agency to decide that, or not one ministry to decide that. It has to be a whole, you know, a whole of government, and that's very, very important. And so again, coming back to the US, we are totally obsessed with rules and regulation before we go and actually build or put a stop sign somewhere, or you know, before we go and do something. We spend months and years trying to address all the rules and regulation just to see what's going to happen if we put a sign there, right? Versus another culture, which I also see. Let's say, let's build the bus first. And we're so excited, we throw all the money and build the bus. And now, after you have the bus, you have no road, you have no sign, you have no gasoline, you have no driver, and you have no client's tail. So then you go back, run around backward, trying to figure now that I have this beautiful, fantastic technology, you know, state-of-the-art bus, but I can't operate, I can't run, I can't do anything because I didn't address first to pave the road, the size of this bus to run, or the sign, the regulation, how, so that the bus doesn't go and kill people or run into a tree or something. So this is the difference in culture, and I'm speaking metaphorically, as you know. So there's two different culture, and what I learned, when you are a new spacefaring nation, the first thing that you concentrate on is resources, right? Money, support. How do I create this space agency without money, without a beautiful bus, without a satellite, without all these things, right? So you throw in your energy trying to get money to build the best technology satellite you can ever imagine, right? But then when you did it successfully, then you basically drain all the energy, and then you have this bus up in the sky that operate 10% of their capability, because you did not address from the very get-go how to use it, who's going to use it, you know, how do I share this knowledge? None of that exists, right? So you run backward, and that's, you know, it is not, sometimes it's not a fault of your own, it's just the way the situation is. In order to exist, you get the resource first. But I would say, don't get caught in that. In order to exist and sustainable and respectable within your government is to get the government buy-in first. The theoretically, the policy-wise, the rules and regulations, put it all together on paper, adopt it into law. When everybody agree and everybody looks at this piece of paper and say, my God, this is such a fantastic piece of information with the rules and best practices. How can we not support this project, right? So it's much easier if you start from a baseline with policy, space policy. Where are you going? What do you want to do with it? And how are you going to get there? These spell it all out for whole of the government to buy in. then I think going forward to get your resources, to get your support is much easier than the other way around. And I have to applaud, and I want to mention one nation as example of that recently, and that is the Philippines. They spent years without any dollar resources, just brains. They put it together, this policy, Philippine national space policy, without even knowing where is it going to go, what building does it going to be in, who's going to lead this amazing policy. They didn't know anything about that. All they did was concentrating on the policy, what's best for the Philippines, in terms of space technology, how to create it, what to do, how to use it, put that all on paper, adopt it into law, and now snail pace, they start building. And only, 2 years ago, they just identified who is the head of this space agency, and still have no money. But it's a buy-in of the whole government. And I think when they grow, it's gonna be amazing, a sustainable practice. And so what if you grow as a snail pace? You as a nation should be very proud because you worked on this piece. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much. Very, very interesting answer to this last question. And I want to say also, I had the privilege also of meeting some of the starters of the Philippine Space Agency, and definitely very inspiring, the story behind it. And it's true that it's a really brilliant example. Also, yeah, regarding the rules and the paperwork, reassure yourself, it's the same for us in France. We love rules, regulations, paperwork. So definitely sometimes can be a bit of a struggle and difficult to progress on things due to that. But so yeah, what I want to highlight from what you just said is the fact that if we want to use space policies to advance with gender inequalities on Earth, we have to work first with our governments, and then plan a good strategy with regards to what we want to achieve. And then also international cooperation is very important, and with all of that, we'll be able to advance on these issues using space policy. Thank you so much, Ms. Neevy van Laningham, for joining us today. So we'll be moving on to the next part, but feel free to stay with us for the rest of the webinar. And otherwise, we're looking forward to seeing you in South Korea this August.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And remember, all of you, if you have questions for Ms. Neevy van Laningham, feel free to add them on the chat, and we can ask them at the end of the webinar. So now I'll be giving the floor to our event manager, Ben Greaves, for the Our Giant Leap Hackathon. So hi, Ben, and he'll be presenting the general idea behind the hackathon and some more details on the program.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And what a great introduction from Ms. Laningham. It just shows, there's so many issues that need to be solved. It's very complex, which could definitely feel overwhelming. But I think there's so many solutions that, we're just now tapping into with the space industry, how democratized it's becoming. And so I'm really excited to see all the different ideas that we come up with as a hackathon. And even just small ideas that might get the ball rolling on something bigger. Really excited to see how this hackathon brings those ideas to fight those problems. So just a brief introduction of SGAC for those of you who aren't involved. Definitely recommend being involved. If you want to participate in the hackathon, this is something that you'll need to sign up for. It's free, it takes 5 minutes, and it's very easy, and it's been one of the greatest organizations to be a part of personally. It's non-governmental, nonprofit, international group, as you can see there on the bottom, 165 different countries. And it basically represents the voice of young space professionals and students, ages 18 to 35 from around the world, from academia, from space industries, from industry. And it's a great way to network and to learn about space opportunities that maybe you had never heard of. There's many scholarship opportunities and many conferences and many opportunities to meet new people. And yeah, on the next slide, you can see that we're involved in many different parts of the world. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so we're in all 6 regions, 165 countries, and over 200,000, over 20,000 members. And so we're really in every part of the world, and we're continuing to look to spread out, especially with this event, into the Asia Pacific region. And so the Diversity and Gender Equality Project Group is one of the 11 project groups that are part of SGAC. So there's others like space law, space ethics, space exploration, space medicine and life science. I'm also a part of that one. And so there's something for everybody, a part of this group. And so the Diversity and Gender Equality Project Group, we focus on raising awareness and breaking stereotypes within and outside SGAC. So just talking about all the different opportunities that are available for people of every background, and to show that you don't have to be of a certain background to really take advantage. To provide concrete recommendations, as we're going to be doing with this event, on how to move forward to be a more equitable and equal world moving forward. To inspire people, to not just minorities, but everybody to join the space sector. And, there's so many different ways to get involved now, and we really need everybody to be a part of it, to have this be a global space effort. And to enrich the aerospace through launching new projects, and for making sure that through those new projects, we get new voices and new people involved to solve the many challenges that we have here, as Ms. Laningham has been able to talk about today. On the next slide, we have a little bit more about our project group. We've been around for just over a year now, I want to say, but the initiative itself has been around for about 3 years. And so it's looking to address quality education, gender equality, decent work and economic growth, and reducing inequalities. And so, a lot of the challenges, that Ms. Laningham just talked about are really touched on by some of the work that we're doing. We have many different projects. We have 5 long-term projects. We have events like the hackathon that we're organizing now. And we also look to put in many papers and publications into conferences, including the IAC International Astronomical Conference that's going to be happening in Paris this upcoming summer. So we have 62 members, but we have quite a large community of people that are peripherally involved and get involved for certain projects. And as you can see, we're from all over the world, many different nationalities, and 83% female. Now on to the event that you are all here for. So the SGAC Our Giant Leap Hackathon is going to take place in mid-August, coming up here. It's going to take place in Daejeon, South Korea, at the Korea Aerospace Research Institute, which I'll talk about a little bit later. It's going to be a 2-day event, and I'll talk on the program on, I think, the next slide. But before the event, we want to make sure that people are able to develop their ideas and develop their teamwork through a program of masterclasses, in which teams will be able to learn about how to give a good pitch, how to address some of the challenges that Ms. Laningham spoke on today, as well as some of the solutions that space could provide. And so all of these things bringing together are going to come up with great ideas that people will already have something going. So by the time they get to the event, they're mainly focusing on polishing the idea and really making sure that it's something that is presented well to the judges. We're looking to have 50 to 55 people. And as mentioned, you need to sign up for SGAC to take part, and it will be taking place in English. Next, talking about the venue, as mentioned, we're going to be working at the Korea Aerospace Research Institute. We're so thrilled to be partnering with them. Recently, the Korean president mentioned that they're going to be investing a lot of funding into the space industry. So we're really excited to be having this take place in Korea, as there's going to be a blossoming of talent, of challenges to solve, and of capabilities. So we're really excited to be bringing that to KARI. And it's also going to be taking place right before the Space for Women conference, which is a international annual conference in which look to talk about basically what we're working on. And so we've been able to work with them to make sure that different delegates are going to be able to present their final projects to the Space for Women Conference. And you're also going to have a lot of people that are attending, a lot of professionals from the UN, from industry, from academia are going to be attending Space for Women. And some of them will be arriving earlier to be a part of our hackathon. And so there's great networking opportunities as that Space for Women conference takes place just 2 days after. And the day in between, so our hackathon goes to the 15th, and on the 17th, the Space for Women event happens, but right in between there, we're also going to be able to get tours of the CARI facility, which we're really excited to be taking part in. As for the program of the hacking, we want to make sure that you're not just doing the pitch competition the whole time. We want to make sure you all have breaks. So we've laid out some great keynote speakers, similar to the one that you've just heard, networking opportunities, meals. There's going to be a networking event at the end. And so, yeah, that second day there, right after the team presentations from 2:30 to 4:30, we hope to have fun. You know, we want to make sure that they're not only great ideas that are coming out of this, but great relationships and connections moving forward. So we really hope that people can come together and learn a lot from each other during this event. But yeah, we're gonna have 12 hours of teams being able to work on their projects together at CARI. And while they're going to be hacking, we're also going to have great mentors that are going to be walking around, including Ms. Laningham. And so you're going to be able to ask her, you know, any more of her thoughts on some of your ideas, how they might relate to her work. We're also going to have an excellent jury, a panel of judges that are going to be able to evaluate each of the different ideas and come up with our winner. And so we already have some really great people, Sabrina Alam from ESG and sustainability at Women in Aerospace from Europe. And so that's going to be a great way to get the gender equality voice represented with some of our jury. But we also, you know, we want to make sure that we also have many people from the space sector, as Sabrina also is, but Veronica Sesko, who also just gave a talk at the UN, is going to be our UNOOSA, or the UN Office of Outer Space Affairs. She's going to give a great keynote speak similar to what Ms. Laningham gave, just really getting people ideas moving for this hackathon. Next, we also have, as mentioned, those master classes that are going to be building up. These are going to be anything in terms of legality, anything in terms of business development, anything in terms of business pitches, is going to be really helpful as teams develop all the different programs and all the different ideas for this competition. Lee Carroll, personal friend of mine, he's great on the Space Sport Foundation. Space law is such an interesting new realm of work that people can get involved in. And hopefully we have a little bit of that work that is done with our pitches. Casey Caballero from Space Ventures is going to be able to talk to you about, you know, how to really develop your business plan and how to give a good pitch to our jury. And then Ksenia Ozkak is going to be able to talk more about her work as, you know, outreach and business pitch and management. So, you know, we make sure that there's a lot of different areas that are represented as you develop your ideas. I think we're coming towards the end here. So the biggest thing that I want to highlight, this is the QR code if you have not registered yet. And yeah, really excited that it's going to be a very exciting place to be in South Korea this August, as we have the International Astronomical Union's General Assembly. It's going to be in Busan. We have our hackathon taking place from the 14th and the 15th. And then, as mentioned, that Space for Women conference taking place in the same city is also going to be there. So we're really excited about all the networking events and being a part of this really exciting atmosphere this summer in South Korea. And just give you a couple more seconds to go register on that QR code, but we'll make sure that that's also shared through our Giant Leap social media. So you can also find us on Facebook and Twitter through Our Giant Leap or Diversity and Gender Equality Group. Maybe we can post a link to the registration form for after this slide is passed. But with that, I'll now pass it off to Leandro, who can talk about how to make sure that you have a great pitch.
Great. Thanks.
Yes. Sorry, Leandro, I pass it on to you right now. I just wanted to add also that so for the speakers and specifically for the mentors, we have someone actually here today with us that will be announced as our next in-person mentor for the hackathon. So I won't reveal her name yet because we still need to do some paperwork with but it should be revealed very soon on the website. So stay tuned and follow us on social media if you want to have her name, and she will recognize herself. So yes, soon to be revealed. And now I leave you the floor, Leandro, and you can also share the slides. I leave you the floor for the slides. Thank you, Ben, for the brilliant introduction.
Thank you, Maëlys, and everyone. Can you just, okay, now I have permission to share my screen, so I appreciate if you can let me know if you see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Great. So first of all, thanks to everyone that attends today to this great session. I'm pretty excited about the outcome that we can have from this event. By the way, great introduction from Ms. Neevy and Ben about how we can improve life on Earth using space technologies, for example, for women's safety, for climate change, for farming, for having better access to public healthcare, education, and many others. So I'm really excited about this event. I'm Leandro Camacho from Costa Rica. I'm the lead of the community NASA Space Apps, and I'm a member of the hackers team. So today we're going to be sharing about more details of the hackathon. So for example, how we can use, just as Ms. Neevy shared with us, use GPS, right? But in this specific competition on how we can use this type of technologies, for example, for bring women's safety during the nights, right? So I think that could be a really good example on how we can improve life on Earth using these space technologies. So we invite you all, brilliant minds that are here with us today, start thinking about how we can use space technology and our know-how to concrete address the main challenges on Earth, to access to women's safety, to healthcare, to gender equitable city planning, for example, or agricultural practices, right? So I think this is a historical hackathon. It's the first time that we have heard about using space technology to address gender equality challenges. So I think it's a great opportunity to brainstorm, to bring more people in the table, just as Ms. Neevy shared with us, bring everyone, our communities, our environment, and think if we are building these solutions for them, or we are just thinking about ourselves, right? And I think it was a great point to bring everyone into the table and have a talk about these main challenges that we share across the globe, right? This is not something about Asia Pacific or Latin America or North America. It's a global challenge that we're facing right now. So we invite you all to be part of this historical hackathon that is happening right now. We also want to share with you some event details, and for all of us that are maybe not that familiar with some specific keywords, we first want to introduce you why we choose to do this hackathon, right? So for us, in the gender equality program group, we wish to bring people from all the disciplines and background together to work in the next best idea for gender equality. Just to be clear, a hackathon is a team-based design competition, not necessarily software-based. Software, it could be a really good attribute, it could be a really good resource that you can use, but we want to invite very diverse backgrounds, right? So if you think that you're not a software developer or a hardware developer and might not be for you, Don't get me wrong, this is for everyone. Everyone can join, and we hope to have very diverse backgrounds, because from diversity we can build solutions that include us all, right? So if you are still like thinking, oh, maybe I'm participating by myself, don't worry about it, because in our hackers team, if you don't have like a team, we're gonna match you with a lot of different people from around the world. So if you're applying by yourself, don't feel worried about it. We're gonna make sure that everyone has the opportunity to build a team and to form a team for this challenge. So that's a really important point. Another keyword that we want to highlight is space technology. So it's mainly technologies that are developed for the space sector, but can also be used for improve our life on Earth, right? Space know-how, it's mainly based on space law, spatial development cycles, and other non-technologies, space methods, such as mainly mentions, for example, space policies, laws, and all these type of know-how related to the space sector, right? When we refer to gender equality, we're focusing on the United Nations SDG goal, the number 5. So if you want to take a look, we're gonna exchange more resources later on the GitHub repo, where you can take a look on what specifically we're trying to address for gender equality. And when we refer to make a leap forward, we're trying to find great ideas to progress on gender equality for the next 10 years, okay? Moving on how we can rock your applications, right? So we're thinking on how you can make the best of your applications so you get selected for this amazing hackathon. So for this, I'm going to share my screen on how it looks, the registration process. So we already shared the link in the Zoom call. Here you can also take a look on the URL where you can go to the registration process. And also if someone of the team can help us reshare again the link so anyone can has access. You can go into this link and you can start filling the registration. Well, here you're gonna see like the description, the general description, when is happening the event. The event will be held in Daejeon, South Korea in August 14 and the 15. So this is like general description of the hackathon, the timelines that we have. So the registration process, it opens on June the 2nd, and it will be closing the 29th of June. So we encourage you and invite you all to don't wait until the last minute to your application, to send your applications. You can start today and start filling all the information and all the process for you to get accepted, right? So once you're in this link, you just need to click on apply now here. And for the ones that have not been registered in the space generation, it is going to show you that you must be logged in to have access to the form, right? So you just need to go here to log in, or well, log in if you already create an account. But if not, you just click here in join now and fill your information and create your account using your social networks or using your email address. So as you can see here, you just need to register all your details. And once you're logged in, you can just sign up with your favorite social network or email address. So for example, in my case, I'm gonna use my email address and I'm ready. Oh, no. Okay, just let me stop sharing my screen because I don't want everyone to see my password. And now I can go back again. Okay. So here it is, right? So once you create your account, you're ready to submit your form. And with this, you can start thinking about how you can make the most and how you can rock your application, right? So for this, okay, let me go here. Now I'm ready to go and apply to the hackathon. And as you can see over here, you're gonna have a really quick questions, general questions about your personal information, your country of residence, your current professional status. And here we can start like adding our own essence to our presentations and our registering process. So here, a quick tips that we want to share with you. It's, first of all, tell us your story, right? Who you are, why you are the best candidate for this, right? We also want to know which are your space interests. For example, Earth observation data, or human space flights, or you're more focusing on space exploration, or diversity and gender inclusion. Any of these space interested of you can help us also to help you build teams, right? So with these as questions that we are making to you, we're trying to find which could be your best teammates for this hackathon. So this is a really important part. We also want to know about if you have any specific background on hackathons, if you have any experience in previous hackathons. So I think this is really relevant for us to try to also address and match people that have some experience and some that they could have more advanced in hackathons. So I think this could also help us to identify the candidates and build teams for them in case that they don't have or they're registering like solo, not with a whole team. So this is a really important part for us. And also, if you don't have a lot of experience on hackathons, that's no big trouble at all. We're just trying to identify who has experience and try to match them with very diverse team backgrounds, right? We also want to identify why you are a good candidate for this hackathon. So start thinking about how you think you can address gender equality using space technologies. So start brainstorming, start thinking about yourselves and how do you think you could be a really good candidate for this. I think this is an awesome experience, so you can definitely try to give your best. Also take a look that you just need to fill 250 words. So it doesn't have to be like a really extensive text, but it's mainly like your essence and why you can be like the best candidate for this. Also, we want to know what inspires you to take a part of this hackathon, mainly in the gender equality topic, right? So why do you think you can bring new ideas, your essence, your special solutions to address this main challenge that we're trying to bring solutions? Maybe we're not solving it at all around the world, but maybe we can just start giving some steps on how we can address this main challenge that we're facing around the world. And then more complementary questions such as if you has an account in the Discord platform. Some of you have heard about it, some of you not. That's not a requirement to have access, but we just want to know which is going to be like the best communication platform for all the participants. We try to be as inclusive as much as we can. And the last part could be to add your CV so we can exchange with the space agencies and any other sponsor that could be interested in hiring talent and get access to these brilliant minds that are going to be participating in the hackathon. So I see some chats, but I think if Meili can help us, if there's any question related to the registration process, you could just let me know. And if not, we can go ahead.
Yeah, so there was actually one question I think that we can answer is, would one need to be able to pay for the travel costs, or would that be covered once the registration process is successful? So, well, yeah, I can answer that. So the travel costs, unfortunately, will not be covered by SGAC for this event. So when you apply, it's free. And then once you're selected, we will send you an Eventbrite invitation to formally apply for the events. And then once your application is secured, then yes, you will need to fund your own travel expenses for coming to the hackathon. But there might be also scholarship opportunities coming in the way while we're waiting for the event to happen. So stay tuned for those. But in the meantime, yes, you need to self-fund your traveling and accommodation for the event.
Great, and thanks for the response. Okay, so I'm sharing again my screen. So we already took a look on how can we rock our applications. Now we can move on the judging criteria. So we're taking a look for 10 teams of 5 hackers each one to come up with a pitch and first stage projects and prototype. And what we're trying to identify is on which could be the impact of your solution on achieving the SDG number 5 main challenge, that is gender equality. Also, we're going to take a look on how you're using space technology or know how to build your prototype or your solution. Other criteria that could be included is the level of innovation of your solution. Also, if your project is financially viable, the originality of your idea and level of innovation this is something that it's incremental innovation or is disruptive innovation. This is something that we have never seen, or this is something like really similar to other solutions that we have or that we can find around the world. And also if your project has a significant impact on gender equality agenda by 2030 of the United Nations. So these are a brief of the judging criteria that we have for the hackathon. So you can just have in mind on what we're taking a look on for the solutions. And now we can go into the part that I love, that are the resources and ideas that we are sharing with the whole hackers teams and all the participants. And it's technical resources and project samples that you can use about space technology, and also that is accessible for anyone that has an internet connection and a computer. Also, we want to know in the chat, let us know that if you already have a GitHub account, if you have heard about GitHub, because this is something that we are really excited about. We have been building this resource and database that I'm going to share the link around here. Oh, thanks. They already shared the link. But here we try to make a repository of a lot of resources that can help you build solutions for your community's main challenges to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls using space tech. So this is an open repository that anyone can access and use as a sample and use as a reference for your solutions. Here we share some of the context we're facing right now. So for example, there's a global estimate that 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subject of physical or sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner sexual violence, or both at least once in their life. This is a huge and large, as you can see, millions of women around the world are facing this challenge. Also, a really important context is that gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. Also, a really important data that we can find is that in the future, 90% of all the jobs will require STEAM-related skills, and women must possess these skills and education to be competitive in the future employment market. Also, a really important fact is that the number of women employed in the international space industry represent just 20 to 22% of the workforce. So as we can see, we have many diverse gender equality challenges to face right now. These are just some reference, but you can definitely, as hackers, can find a lot more challenges that we can face. And for this, we have built some resources specifically for different categories or topics. So for example, the main topic is gender equality, the SDG number 5. And for this, we try to find some resources that could be useful for all the hackers. So for example, we have a project that is called Smart Ring. So this Smart Ring project use GPS control and NFC solutions, so someone can share their geolocation in case of emergency, right? So for this, for example, if a team is interested in getting the GPS location from a user, for example, we added some resources of tech companies that already provide this type of solutions of geolocations. Here you can also find the code sample for getting a geolocation for a user. For example, if you want to connect women travels to have a better trip going back home, or just as we mentioned, if you want to get the geolocation of someone that it's in an emergency, we can use this type of geolocation solutions. We have also built NFC ring that hopefully the teams can download for print using a 3D printer. So we already built this 3D model of the NFC ring that you can use and download to build your own solution. We also have some data resources that you can use about a gender gap and yeah, make some data analysis and data visualization of these data sets. We also built a special category for space know-how, mainly focused on agriculture. So for example, we have open source resources such as Global Forest Watch that offers a free real-time data set on monitoring the world's forest. And also you can use it for agriculture as well. We have access to OpenStreetMaps, that it's a collaborative project to create free editable geographic database of the world. We have also resources about farming tech in roots in space, projects from MIT. We have also sustainability projects for gender equality in farming, to having better access to public sanitation and healthcare. Also some data about child marriages and other forms of gender-based violence. And also we want to encourage teams to work on the state of the art, right? Things that haven't not be developed that much, or they're just emerging technologies. We have some samples about like buying from women, that it's a United Nations program, mid-cap project. And here you can also find the judging criteria, some tutorials about how you can use NASA open APIs resources. I think that this is really a historical moment, because we talked about this project 15 years ago. We needed thousands of dollars to build these type of solutions, but nowadays we have many open source resources that we can use it for free. So we really encourage you to take a look on this GitHub repository. Also, if you have some comments, if you want to add more resources, if you are interested in any of other specific fields that we maybe have not included in the repository, you can send us a message. We're open to add more resources, and hopefully we can help you to make the best from this hackathon. So with this said, this is a resource and a repository that it's open, that it's willing to add more specific know-hows and technical resources for you, so you can address this challenge. And to close my intervention of today, we also encourage you to apply to the Space for Women conference. You have time until the June 15th. This is a United Nations working expert meeting, and they're trying to find participants that are focusing on how to bring more women and girls into the space sector. This unfortunately is a non-funded participation, but we also encourage you all to try to find sponsorships from your space agency local, also from the technology ministers, from the education ministers, from the governments. This is really an important topic that we need to face around the world. So even though some of these opportunities are not funded, not sponsored, definitely you can try to find the best sponsors for this solution, since it's a challenge that we are all facing around the world. And with this said, I am closing my intervention in this session. I want to thank you all for the invite and for being connected, and hope you can apply, register, invite all your friends, family to this amazing hackathon, and thanks to everyone.
Thank you so much, Leandro, for this really great presentation and the great tips that you gave to the hackers, to the potential hackers to apply for the events. I would like to thank everyone that has stayed all this way. Sorry for the big delay on the webinar. Thank you all for staying. And I would love also if we could take a group picture. So maybe if it's possible for you to turn on your cameras and we can take a picture to share and to see all the beautiful people that were part of the webinar with us. So I'll be waiting a bit and then I'll take the picture. So if you can, turn on your cameras. If you can't, that's okay too. And nice to see everyone. Okay, so I'll take the picture. Big smiles. Okay, it's done. Thank you so much. Okay. Yay. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Feel free to ask any questions. Could we also provide the email? I think it's
Yes,
yes, that'd be great.
on the chat.
Perfect. I think you've seen many of the resources, but please feel free to, if there's any questions that you have, feel free to reach us at these emails. And we're excited to see everybody here today, and we're excited to be moving forward towards the hackathon.